What's new, pussycat? Welcome to my channel. My name is Emma Cownley. I'm a freelance copywriter and blogger, and today I'm going to be discussing dropping out of a project midway through. It's a horrible situation to find yourself in, but at some point you may well find yourself in a kind of situation where you become aware of the fact that either the fit is not right with the client or you do not have the capability to continue with the job that you've been hired to do. What you choose to do in that situation is entirely your own business, but if you feel like you need to drop out and you're panicking about how or if you can even do that, well then this is the video for you. But before I give you the goodies, I'd like to ask a small favour, minute in the grand scheme of things, and that is please give this video a thumbs up. Maybe even subscribe to the... Alright mate, what are you up to? You coming up? Or are you just gonna yell at me? You coming up? Tradition. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy it or find it useful at all. And maybe even consider subscribing. It's free to subscribe and it helps me out massively. And I can tell from my YouTube analytics that under half of you who watch these videos are subscribed. So if you come back here fairly regularly, give it a go. I won't let you down. Promise. Also, I am on Coffee. If you would like to buy me a coffee, that would be lovely. And also, if you find this video useful and you want one-on-one advice with me, you can book the witching hour over on my website, which is 1 hour with me. Power planning, don't you dare. Power planning for whatever you need help with. So maybe consider it if you'd like my wisdom, but just for you instead of for the world on YouTube. Mate, if you're going to be a trouble, you can get down. Sometimes you've got to be a strict mum. Okay, let me begin by giving a huge shout out to my freelance community. I'm in a couple of private chat groups and the discussion of how to drop out of a project midway through has come up maybe twice in the last year or so. And it is a topic which inspires panic in almost everybody. And I think that the solution is mostly universal depending on the circumstances. So I'm going to relay the advice that's been given in my private chat groups to you here. So huge shout out to the Female Copywriters Alliance. This whole video is basically pilfered from our private conversations. So cheers for that. So step 1, be honest with yourself about whether or not you are a good fit to continue with the job. Let's explore all the options before we go ham and just drop out. Is it possible that you can push through, finish this draft, deliver this draft, close off this project, and then draw a line and say to yourself, right, that's it, I'm not working with them ever again. The fit with that client was not right. The process was a complete shit show. No matter what I did, I was not able to bring this back under control and I don't want to work with them again. Is that an option perhaps? Potentially, could you get them to the nearest stage of completion and then agree to drop out? Get them to their first benchmark or their first kind of...
Yeah, so the word I'm scrabbling around for is milestone. Get them to the nearest milestone. You're welcome, Emma.
Stage 1 and then drop out so that they're not completely left hanging mid-project. Or has this problem arisen early enough that you can haul ass out of there before they've committed too much time and resource to working with you? Is it early stages? Have you realised, actually, no, I need to get out of this before I'm in too deep? In which case, you can turn it around and get out of there. I would also suggest examining the reason why you feel like you're not able to continue with the project. Is it the client themselves? Are you finding it difficult to work with them? And if so, is there potential for a conversation with them about their processes, their attitudes, their approach, the differences, and what can be done to remedy that going forward for a more harmonious relationship? It always pays to be upfront and honest about what's not working for you. It can make the whole thing go a lot easier. Just remember to be diplomatic and not use blaming language. Or is it your imposter syndrome telling you that you do not have the skills to do this job? Because if that's the case, I would highly recommend going back through your record of achievement, aka your portfolio. Look at all of the great work you've already done, all of the great people you've already worked with. Look at all the feedback you've saved, great feedback that people, wanted to give you. And just kind of have a bit of a word with yourself, really, because there's probably plenty of evidence to suggest you're more than capable of doing this job. You've just gotten into your own head a bit. And I can definitely identify with that. It happened to me a couple of times last year. I had quite a bad client interaction, which really knocked my confidence and left me pretty much convinced that I was fucking useless and could not do my job in the slightest. And it took one really nice client to kind of really helped me build myself back up and realise, no, actually, I'm fucking good at what I do. I've been doing it for over 10 years. I've worked with global brand names. This small little fish out on the side who is being a dick is nothing. So before you drop out, really examine the reasons why. Think about whether or not there are solutions that you could potentially try or potential ways that you could work around it. Get them to the next level, get them to the next benchmark. Sprint to the end of the project and just call quits after that. But on the flip side, don't gaslight yourself. If this really isn't working out for you, for whatever reason, don't make yourself do it. You are your own boss, you are in charge of what you work on, and sometimes it is just worth taking that hit and stepping back because the money's just not worth it. There are some situations where it's just not worth it. And if you need to get a second opinion, go out to your freelance colleagues and just say, here's the situation I'm in, what do you think? And they'll tell you. So step 2, I'm going to say you need to forgive yourself for having to drop out. Yes, I'll admit it doesn't look great to the client. You've signed on saying that you'll do something and then you've turned around and said, actually, no, I can't do this. It doesn't look great. But if you genuinely believe you are not the right person for this job and you will not be able to do it to your best ability, then you owe it to that client to be truthful and upfront about the fact that you can't continue or that you're not happy to continue, because they deserve to find a freelancer who will give their whole entire arse to the project, not just half-arse it, It's important to realise that this isn't failure. It takes a huge amount of guts to tell someone that you're going to walk away from a project because you can't do it. Admitting that you're not able to continue and having those difficult conversations, it's not easy. Your best mate Emma is here to tell you you're all right. Okay, so the next step is to have the conversation. Now, I would recommend getting this done as soon as possible once you've made the decision. Do not let that shit drag on. Just plan what you want to say. Get them on the phone. Don't do it by email. That's like breaking up with someone by text. And in these situations, I think the best thing to do is to reach out privately to your freelance network and say, hey guys, I'm in this situation. This is what's happening. I'm not right to continue. Here's the remit of the job. Is anyone here happy to step in? And if so, can I have your contact details, relevant portfolio samples, and kind of just try to be completely honest with your network about why it's not working out for you, because you do not want to drop someone else in this shit. That's not how we roll here in the freelance community. You need to be candid, because there might be someone out there that's more than happy to step in. They've got the chops, they want the challenge, it's just their bag, and they're happy to step in and take that from you. So what I would do is have some options lined up with all of the details, and you've got consent from the writers, and then go into that conversation with the client and just say, hey, I'm going to be completely upfront. This isn't working for me for these reasons. I've tried to find workarounds. I'm not able to do that on this occasion. And so I'm going to have to leave the project. But I have found other options for you. This selection of writers is happy to step in. If you make the choice, make a choice of who you would like to work with, I can brief them, give them all my notes, give them transcripts from the phone calls that we've had so far. I will catch them up to speed so that you don't lose any progress on your project, and then they can take you the rest of the way to the finish line. Also, there is the discussion of money, isn't there? So if you're anything like me, you'll take a 50% deposit up front before you start working. Now, it really depends on how far into the project you are when you have to drop out. If you've already done a bunch of work and a bunch of drafts and you've given all of that to them, I'm going to say that you're well within your right to retain that 50% deposit because you've already done a lot of the work and you will be doing work in the handover. But then again, that does really depend on the circumstances as to why you feel you have to leave. Have they changed the remit of the job after you've signed on and now it's outside of your ability to do? Have they breached the terms of your writer's agreement with regard to how they're handling themselves? You know, is there something in your writer's agreement or your contract that you can use to protect yourself when you say, actually, I have done a lot of work on this and the reason that it's not working out for me is because of a breach of contract, so I'm going to retain this money? Or are you going to be in a situation where it's really not fucking worth it to you? You've signed on, it's not working out, it's going horribly, and you're like, do you know what? Take your money back. I'm happy to pay for the privilege of not being your freelancer anymore. So it's really something that's going to be a case-by-case basis, but just know that you do have options. I'm covered in cat hair. You know when you can just like see it out the corner of your eye? So annoying. So that is how we're going to disentangle ourselves. Try and leave things in as good a place as you can, because remember, we are kind of ducking out of a project. So I think it's in your best interest to try and be as helpful as possible, even just for your own karma. So my final tip is going to be, remember the fucking lesson that you just learned. What went wrong in this project that led to you having to drop out halfway through? Because if you forget everything that's just happened and you go out prospecting for new work and you end up in exactly the same situation, well then yes, you are unprofessional. Nobody wants to be in these situations, and if you find yourself in them time and time again, have a word with yourself, mate. Something's gone wrong. You need to sort yourself out. So what I did after I had my nightmare client experience last year, where I had to drop out halfway through, is I developed a client screening spreadsheet. So I have based my personal spreadsheet on all the things that I value in a great client and all the things that have gone fucking horribly wrong in the past. What was wrong with this client that I didn't pay attention to and ended up in the shit? I score each brief and each new client out of 10 for each of the categories on my client screening spreadsheet, and I do not accept clients that score under 75%. And that's just the rule. And that helps me get out of my own way, because I will always find a way to gaslight myself into accepting a job that I don't want to do, because I'm like, oh, but the money, oh, but we need the work. It's silly to turn down jobs. It's not silly to turn down jobs if every single fucking warning siren is going off in your head, but you're accepting it anyway. That is silly, and that's what I did, and that's why I ended up in a bad situation. I also try to make sure that my spidey senses are on during every initial client interaction in those early days. Are they late to meetings? Have they just come in without introducing themselves, asking me if I offer a particular service, telling me that their budget is £20 an hour and whatnot? Already I'm like... So yeah, I always go in with my spidey senses on, and I make sure that I use my client screening spreadsheet to make sure that the people that I'm going into work relationships with are not going to be nightmarish, hellish beasts sent from Satan to torment me. End of the day, this is not an ideal scenario. Hopefully you will never find yourself in this position, but if you do, it's nice to know that there is a video here for you to kind of talk you through, talk you off a ledge as it were, help you objectively explore your options, and then professionally withdraw without leaving the client up shit creek without a paddle. I hope you found this helpful. If you did, you can always click that like button down there. Be much appreciated. And you can find me on social media. I'll leave all the links in the description box below for you. And yeah, I'll see you back here, same time, same place in 2 weeks for more Kiss My A's. Take care and peace out.